Okay, well, it's still quite difficult to get some of these chat questions through. I was made aware of a couple of questions that you didn't see on the screen, so I'll try and address those now. They're a bit technical, but a lot of people have asked me about the long delay between albums and what I had to do to sort of get going again. And I've got to give some credit to the lovely Mrs. Hepzibah, who should be watching now with the kids, I hope. She couldn't make it here today, unfortunately, but she was very influential, really, in getting me back to work, and she's the rock that I lean against most of the time, And after 5 years away from the studio, of course, as we all know, technology moves very fast, and I had to kind of relearn a lot of stuff. Somebody asked me while that song was playing, has it become more difficult to make records, or is it easier, in fact? And I'd say it's neither, really. It's just you have more at your disposal, so it can take longer. There's much to explore, and I kind of like to take my time and experiment with different possibilities. But nevertheless, you've still got to have some ideas, and no amount of technology is going to create that for you. So after I'd kind of reacquainted myself with much of what I've forgotten, plus also got to know some of the new bits and pieces that are out there. Those that are a bit more used to making music will understand about Logic Audio and Pro Tools, and I got to grips with Ableton Live, which I really enjoyed this time. That allowed me to time stretch loops, because for me, putting samples and loops together is very, very much what I do. It's very much reworking bits of performance. And it's important that I'm able to stretch and put those into time so that they make some sort of sense musically. Anyway, so that's what I've been up to. That's why it took me so long. This next track is called Killing Ground. And again, it was one of the pieces I had very early on, but it took a long, long time to evolve. There's so many different sections within it, which is something that often occurs. People always say to me, why are your tracks so long? Well, this is the reason. Because there's no song there to begin with, and I'm compensating for that by creating lots of shifts and dynamic changes within the music, so that I've got something to present to singers, and something I'm confident enough to give to other people. They then produce a song to go on top, and I'm already by then attached to all the sections of the music, and so I kind of try to make that song work with what I have, rather than reduce and take everything away again. We end up with these very complicated long pieces, and this is very typical of that. So the song itself was something that actually has been around for a while. Joe's had this, he's recorded it before, he's had this song knocking around for a long time, and once I'd met him and became aware of him, I tried sampling one of his versions and putting it into my music, and then presented that idea to him, and he then re-recorded over what I'd done. Much as you can imagine, it's a long, long process of kind of fitting the jigsaw together and making it all work. And so this is the Killing Ground. I hope you like it. Okay, we're back. Sorry, the chat's a bit slow. I know we're trying to get more questions through, but it's a bit difficult for some reason. Who knows why? But that's what happens. That was the Killing Ground. The next track, Intruders, is even longer than that, can you believe? It was quite a difficult one, actually. For a long time, it had a really good feel for a long time, but I could never quite structure it properly. And this is a Carla track. And her vocals came, as I said, she came quite late to the project, and so it was one of the last things we did vocally, and what we ended up doing was just throwing lots and lots of different ideas at it. Slightly different to working with Joe, she came to my studio, as I said, and she just tried lots of different vocal takes with different ideas, and we recorded everything, which is quite how I like to work, in fact, is to, sometimes without wishing to sound too pretentious about it, it's a bit like a film director who's getting performances from actors, and then he has to edit it all together into a story that makes sense, and that's often how I feel. So I want to try and get as much performance, as many different performances as possible, and don't reject anything. It's much better to get it down and then work it later, and that's what I do. And particularly in this case, put together something that made sense to me from all the different ideas that Carla had. And it's not what you'd call a conventional song, really. It sort of meanders about, and there's some of Joe's backing vocals in there, and it's a sort of combined effort, this one. But there's something about it I really like, and at the end there's a whole 5-minute section which is just Joe's band really jamming along, which gives a real indication of what they brought to the project. That was all done in one take. PK was crawling around on the floor playing with effects pedals, and it was the nearest we got to a sort of band performance, if you like. So this is called Intruders. I'll try and keep answering these questions if I can. I hope you enjoy it.